Ready? Let's call the meeting to order. Please rise and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would you call the roll, please, Renee?
Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Canfield.
Here.
Commissioner Orthwein. Here. Vice Mayor Stanley.
Here.
Mayor Morgan.
Here.
Also present and participating today are Town Manager Dunham, CFO Bymaster, Chief Jones, and myself, and our attorney Brett. I don't know his last name.
Yes,
I'm so
thank
sorry.
you.
Very good.
Just for the record, the attorney is, I'm sorry, the manager is Nazaro, not Dunham.
Did I say Dunham?
Old
I'm
habits
so
die
sorry.
hard,
It's
that's all
just
right.
a habit.
You know,
I'm
you
so
miss
sorry.
you miss one meeting and
That's what happens, Trey. All right, we've been presented with the minutes from our last meeting on March 13th. Are there any additions, changes, deferrals, questions, or a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Second.
Renee?
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Canfield.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein. Yes. Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Mr. Nazaro, any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir. We do have one addition under 8A. We'll have under the town manager reports, number 5, sea turtle lighting, which will be handled by our town clerk.
Okay, turtle lighting. Item 5, under section 8. Very good. Our next meeting will be May 8th at 9 a.m. for anyone who wishes to attend. Also, we will have our second town hall meeting, our evening town hall meeting, 5:30 on April 22nd. The last one last month was well attended and worthwhile. It's a casual setting for people to kind of ask questions, raise issues that are of some concern in a different setting than a formal commission meeting. So I urge you all to attend. We're honored today to have Senator Lori Berman and Representative Rob Long here. Lori, would you like to come up and tell us what you've been doing?
Hey, good morning, everyone. So good to see you. So as I think many of you know, we have term limits in Florida, and you can do 8 years in the House, 8 years in the Senate. I have done both, and I am now at the end of my term, and I will be done in November. So this is probably my last meeting with all of you. Very happy to represent you. It does. And the really good news is I'm here with Rob Long, who's one of our newest colleagues in the House. And so he's just starting his 8 years, and it's good we're here together. So you'll have some great continuity. When I do these reports, I like to give you an update on what we did in preemption in the state this year. And I have to tell you, it was a really awful year. In terms of preemption, we only passed about 200 bills. And I would say at least 10 of them had some variation of preemption in them. So you've got your work cut out for you. Just a couple of the important ones. We did change the sovereign immunity limits, and it is now $350,000 for an individual and $500,000 per incident. So if you do get sovereign immunity claims, they probably will be for a higher amount. And also your insurance on the sovereign immunity may rise because the increases in sovereign immunity. I will tell you, I was the Democratic minority leader this past year, and I met every week with the League of Cities, and they worked really hard to take some bills that were really horrendous and make them a little more tolerable. And this was a prime example. In the House, they tried to put $1 million per incident, and I think 500. So they got it to 350 and 500, which was a compromise. Other things that you're specifically preempted on, you can't you can't regulate gas leaf blowers. And you can't have any policies which are considered net zero policies for carbon emissions. So if you do anything that's based on a carbon emission, like a greenhouse gas issue, it has to be done for an economic reason and not for an environmental reason.
Could I just ask you about the
Sure.
gas blowers? Because
Uh-huh.
it's an issue that has come up several times. We were going to revisit it regarding
Sure.
electric blowers.
You
What is the,
you probably could not mandate electric blowers the way it's in the Department of Agriculture bill, believe it or not. That's where they put the preemption in. But I think you would probably not be able to. I would check with your attorney, but I think you're going to be limited on being able to say it has to be electric. Probably have to, look into that a little more, but I think it's going to be a problem. The other big area that we focused on was, and we spent an inordinate amount of time, instead of thinking about things that affect affordability and people's wallets, things like property insurance, which we did nothing on. We spent time passing a very big bill saying that cities and counties cannot have any diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. So you can't have anything in your policies, any kind of training on those issues. And if you are going to spend government money on a particular group or ethnicity, there are not clear guidelines, actually. We put in many, many exceptions. For instance, if you wanted to support Black History Month, there is an exception, and the exception is based on the fact that it's a federal holiday. But like St. Patrick's Day is not a federal holiday. So if you're going to give money to a St. Patrick's Day parade or something like that, it's questionable. And in that particular statute, if you do so, you can be is it personally liable? What there is? Oh, right. Charged with. Yes. So it's pretty serious. Unfortunately, we spend a lot of time on these cultural war issues instead of on things that we should be doing in Tallahassee. I'm going to let my colleague talk about some of the other preemption things we did having to do with zoning and land use. There's a
the
couple of
important
those.
one we're concerned about?
What's the?
The big one that we're worried about, which
What?
is what came out of the House and went
Which
up
one
to
is
the Senate
that?
about homesteaded property.
Oh, property tax.
Yeah.
I mean, oh yeah, yeah. And we will talk about property tax,
Okay.
and you can talk about what the
Yeah.
House did, and I'll tell you guys what the Senate did. So.
Yeah, happy to. Well, first of all, good morning, Mayor and Commission. Great to be here. This is my first time presenting in front of this group, and I'm in a way taking the torch from Senator Berman, although you will have another senator here next year as well, but you'll see me again at least. So I think you went over most of the preemption bills, Senator. So 803 is the one that dictates that any money that you guys have coming in that's revenue from permitting, you can only use for permitting. You can't use that for any capital improvement projects. For instance, we just did a presentation in Delray. They were planning to use some of their permitting funds to basically fund a annex to their development services and create a new structure to move some staff into there. They can no longer do that because of the way that the state is now telling them how they can use those funds. So as the senator sort of mentioned, the theme of this session really was how can we do as much as possible to preempt local governments. Not sure how we got to that point, but that's where we seemingly are. The silver lining, funny enough, is that we had such a dysfunctional relationship between the House and the Senate that not that many bills made it through. And luckily the Senate killed a lot of the worst bills, but some unfortunately did still make it through. One of the ones that did get killed, however, was the property tax bill that was passed out of the House, which the gist of that was it would have phased out all homesteaded property taxes, with some carve outs for school district. And I'm not sure if that one even had carve outs for law enforcement. I don't believe it did, law enforcement and firefighters. So it was a really bad bill. Many of us argued against it, and there was no implementation strategy for it. And there was no real plan on how to backfill that revenue for our cities. Luckily, again, that bill did not get heard in the House, so it's dead. However, we are going back for multiple special sessions. We're going back in a week to discuss congressional redistricting officially, but there are rumors that the call will be expanded. Is that the right terminology? To include property taxes. We still have a budget to figure out. We have about a $1.4 billion difference between the House and Senate budgets. We have to work that out. And there's also rumor that there could be an AI special session as well to talk about AI. So we still have some stuff to work out. Like I said, it was very dysfunctional. I think, Senator Berman, you referenced that there were 1,900 bills filed, only about 230 passed through both chambers. Only 20 some have made it to the governor's desk so far. So still a lot of unfinished business, but historically this was a very unproductive session. In some ways that's a good thing, given the theme of how do we preempt local governments as much as possible. But I will leave you with a couple. I always like to end on a positive note, which is tough right now, but there's a couple good things that happened. Let me just find, oh yeah, coastal resiliency, which was Senate Bill 302. It's an important bill for coastal towns like Gulfstream here. Basically, the gist of it is it allows the state to develop guidance and promote nature-based coastal protection solutions. So more green-based natural solutions to beach erosion and things like that. It promotes that and starts to build more of a structure around it. And it gives you as a city more tools and alignment for resilience planning and funding opportunities. And that's, I believe, in conjunction with the DEP. And so that we do consider that a good bill, and it's a step in the right direction. And the other one I want to talk about was a really great bipartisan moment that we had this session. It involves my predecessor, which was Representative Joe Casello, who is a former Boynton Beach commissioner who passed away last July. And I actually, I ended up in a special election and served out what would have been his last year in the legislature before he termed out. And Joe Casello was also a former firefighter, and he had put some language in a bill several years ago regarding PFAS, which are the forever chemicals I'm sure you guys have heard about. These are the chemicals that end up in our groundwater, end up in our bodies, and are almost impossible to get back out. They're linked to heightened rates of cancer. There is a particular type of foam that firefighters train with called AFFF foam, and it has a lot of PFAS chemicals in it, and it's been linked to a lot of health issues with firefighters. It has been banned federally, but a lot of states like Florida still have stockpiles of it that are being used. And so states have begun to phase it out as well. Joe had written up some language back in 2022 to do exactly that. Didn't make it through. We were able to work across the aisle to bring that language back and add some into a bigger bill that then also gives some language on how to dispose of it and phase it out more quickly. And that bill ended up being called the Joe Casello Act, and passed unanimously through both the House and the Senate. There was a big standing ovation for Joe during that. It was a really emotional moment for a lot of us, and it was a great way to honor Joe, and it would have been his last year there, and a great way to, and frankly, it's a really important bill for our firefighters. So that was another positive thing that happened this session. So I'll leave it with that, and if you all have any questions, yeah, go ahead.
I want to just do a brief little follow up on a couple things. So what I didn't say, and I usually say, is that we didn't do a budget, which is the one responsibility that the legislature has. So we will be going back, as the representative mentioned, we're 1.4 billion apart, which for a $115 billion budget is less than 1%. So we're close on the numbers, and I actually have a little insider information, and I heard we're on the numbers. It's the allocation of the numbers that they're having problems with. So the number is not as much of an issue as how the money will be allocated. The other thing I want to say is we absolutely anticipate property tax special session, as you just heard. All different ideas still ruminating. We're hearing things like raise the homestead exemption. Right now it's 25,000. Raise it to, some number. I would keep hearing like 100,000. Other ideas about portability. Right now, we do have some portability for your property taxes, but it's limited to 500,000. So it's not really effective, especially in a county like Palm Beach County, where homes are, millions of dollars. I support. There are some ideas that we could potentially support, but we have to see the details. And we know that when this comes up, and it does have to be on the ballot. Anytime you change property taxes, it will be on the ballot. It'll be on the ballot in November. And I'm just urging all of you to educate yourselves, because we need to see what is going to be the impact. Does it mean that your firefighters won't be there in the timely a manner? Does it mean your streets won't be paved? Does it mean that your trash won't be picked up? Does it mean that your parks will have to be closed? So those are all issues, which when we see what the final product is, we all need to educate ourselves about. And the final thing, I do want to end a little bit on a little happier note also. So I know I think I talked about this last year. We do have occasionally bills that are a little more light in nature. And for the second year in a row, we tried, but we're unsuccessful in getting the flamingo to be one of the state birds. So we still have the mockingbird, unfortunately, but right, yeah, for the flamingo. So happy to
Outrageous
take
abuse.
happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? I think you've done a very thorough job, but I just want to thank you for all your service, Senator Laureate, Senator Berman. You've been a great advocate for local government, and we really appreciate all your efforts and wish you the very best.
Thank you.
And Rob, carry the torch.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak? Public comment? All right, let's move on then. Town manager's CIP update.
Thank you, Mayor. So during the past month, the contractor grouted the old water main to abandon it, patched several holes with asphalt, and completed some asphalt driveways, and also worked on completing several punch list items from phase 1 to attempt to reach final completion for that phase. Although the focus has largely been on phase 1, in the coming weeks, they'll move from phase 1 to phase 2. Current targets for substantial and final completion have not changed, and according to the contractor from our meeting on Wednesday, looking at late April for substantial and late May for final. Also, just by way of an update, I received correspondence from resident Bryce Nantes at 3377 Gulfstream Road that voiced several concerns. They were general as it related to drainage in the core, which I addressed in my response letter dated April 8th, which I provided a copy to the commission. He also had two other concerns. The first one, the corner outside the police department, which, although I believe that the striping that we installed did improve things, I do recommend we widen, but also work with the Little Club to determine what their traffic volume will be given the recent improvements that added several parking spaces and amenities to their croquet and pickleball courts. The timing of this work will be after the Little Club completes their project on the course to minimize damage to the town's new roads and curbing, but before the start of Gulfstream School in the fall. So that final work will not be done by Roadway, but will be later on by a separate contractor. But it will be finished in that area in a way that is acceptable to the town and our engineers prior to closeout. So whatever is there after project closeout will be revised after the Little Club completes their project, and we'll work with them on that. The other issue was flooding at the intersection of A1A and C Road. So I reached out to our engineers, and they believe that a swale in that area is appropriate. So they reached out to the DOT to get approval for that type of work because it is in the DOT right away. While doing that, I also asked them to look at the intersections of County Road and Lakeview, which also have some ponding as well, to help improve conditions on those entrances to town as well. So obviously, once we have the DOT's attention, we want to try to address all those roads, even though they're outside of the current CIP.
Did you say county in that?
County and
County and
A1A,
Oh,
floods.
A1A.
and then Lakeview and A1.
But
So
there's
those,
water
Oh,
collection on other
Lakeview
roads
and
too.
A1A,
Lakeview, I know the engineers and the contractors say that once the second lift is put on, that water will drain away and you won't have ponding at Lakeview, Banyan, Gulfview. Have the engineers reviewed that again just to confirm? Should that be added to this request to DOT as well?
so yeah, I know we've got Robert Ernest, our inspector here, and we've talked about this a lot. And the belief is still from our engineers that just specific to C Road and A1A, the elevation is matched and there will be a crown in the road. So they're saying there will not be water on the road. But they also mentioned that specific to C Road, there is water collection that runs south from a number of multifamily properties. Interestingly enough, Boyne Beach was doing some hydrant flushing up a few properties down, and it was just sheet flowing down A1A to C Road, and then it was collecting, and it doesn't really move far from C Road south, right? So that it kind of levels off. So I don't want that to be a collection point for A1A. So that's why they believe that the swales are appropriate to sort of trap some of that water. So even though the road is going to be the high point, I don't want to collect on either side and cause a problem or degrade that new asphalt. That's going to be same for the other intersections as well.
Okay, those other roads don't have the sloping multifamily home driveways either, which is what's feeding so much water to C Road. Okay. Anything else on CIP, Mr. Nazaro?
No, like I said, Robert Ernest is here if you have any questions. Otherwise, we can move on.
Any questions? Okay. Private sewer, do you want to update us on the billing and clerical work that we may consider doing?
Yes, sir. So you've been provided with a memo from the town attorney that opines that the town cannot take on billing and clerical responsibility for the private system since it is privately owned and we cannot use municipal funds for that purpose. I did talk to Bob Swade and he relayed that their current billing and administrative tasks are handled competently with the person they're using now, and the concern seems to be, at least now, focusing on assisting them with certain decisions regarding upgrading and maintenance of the system over time. Like when they're asked to put in a new pump or reroute something, they kind of want us to try to assist with some consulting there. I think that's going to run into the same issue that we have with not being able to assist them with the clerical and billing matters. So, I can work with them more, but right now we're kind of at a standstill with our attorney saying that we can't get more involved with the sewer. I did try to determine whether or not Town Hall, the police department, or Public Works were on the private system, so we could maybe be involved as a member, but we are not. So it is really, the town really does not have any involvement with that system.
There are a lot of people on that system now that weren't, it's growing. And the golf clubs on the system. Would it be beneficial for them to kind of have their own group to help manage the two that do now? Reach out to other people to help. Run it like a little privately owned
Sure.
business. Because so many more people join than used to be part of it.
Right. It has grown significantly over the years.
And so I don't know if people know they can just jump right in.
I think that's part of Bob Swade and Joe McCool's problem. They can't get anyone to step in, and they would love to get off that board. But
Well, yeah, I don't know.
anyways,
Maybe
we're restricted in what we can do legally. So and that's been reported to
That's one of the big
the
ones.
corporation overseeing that sewer. All right, next let's move to the feral cats, which is a persistent issue in town. Mr. Nazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. So all of our residents should have gotten a letter from myself discouraging the feeding of stray or feral cats and discussing the town's TNVR, which stands for Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, and Return program. This humane approach involves safely trapping feral cats, spaying or neutering them to prevent reproduction, vaccinating them against disease, and then returning them to their environment. Or in the event of wild-born kittens, they normally do try to put them up for adoption who can be domesticated. Over time, this method helps stabilize and gradually reduce feral cat population while improving overall health of a cat colony. Most recently, the town revived our TNVR program in 2024 due to feeding issues on County Road, where we do not believe that the individuals were a proper steward of a cat colony or outdoor cats, and they were reproducing at an alarming rate. Since October of 2025, the town's TNVR provider has trapped 15 cats or kittens. Again, this is only isolated on County Road, so we're looking at, I think, 10 single family and 5 multifamily properties, and that's just what he's been able to trap since October. However, several residents of County Road have questioned his effectiveness as of late. So Renee and I met with a TNVR provider who's a 501c3 nonprofit And we're looking at swapping to that new provider and hoping to make more of an impact on that area. You may have noticed if you drove by County Road or looked out behind Town Hall, the property that's on for discussion later at 4220 North County has been cleared significantly of underground vegetation. So ideally that provides them with less place to hang out and may be easier for the trapper to get involved. Just by way of talking about a little bit about our pet ordinance, letting cats be outdoor cats that roam the neighborhood is not permitted in Gulfstream, as allowing an animal off your property without a leash, for example, if it was a dog, is a violation of the town code. So in addition to swapping out our TNVR contract, I've asked the town attorney to outline an appropriate enforcement mechanism, whether it be a citation, hearing before the special magistrate, or if there are some changes that they recommend. That is currently in process, and they're looking at some other municipalities and what is on the books there and what's been successful and has not. One example that I talked to Paul Lyons about, kind of jokingly, is our current fine and our ordinance is $25, but that was from 1978. So adjusted over time, that would be $125 if, with inflation in today dollars. So there are probably a number of changes that will come, and that will be put forth by ordinance in a forthcoming meeting. But in the meantime, we are going to, like I said, swap out our TNVR contractor and take some more aggressive steps on controlling the cat population on County Road.
Well, the main area is County Road. Now that the foliage on the one property has been removed, that should help. But down at the Bath and Tennis Club tennis courts is also an issue. And I think you've looked into that, have you not?
So we have. So I went down there with the Truly All Cats is the nonprofit that we're looking at partnering with. And we walked down to the west side of the parking lot where there are, I guess, some feeding bowls. They were empty, which is how you are supposed to operate. You're only supposed to feed them and not leave food out because that can attract, other non-cats animals. We had 3 cats that immediately walked up. One was a little bit shyer, but 3 cats that immediately walked up were friendly. We could see that their ear was tipped, which means they're part of the TNVR program. So that at least those 3 cats are under control and are not going to be reproducing because they have been appropriately taken care of under that TNVR program. It was not us. It may have been a resident or a private individual, but that seems to be an issue that's under control, and those cats are just kind of,
Why do the cats have to be returned?
Is
that a law?
Yes, sir.
It can't be relocated.
So in talking to our provider, they've indicated that cats that are very friendly, they do consider taking them and putting them up for adoption because they may struggle to survive in the wild, as opposed to a feral cat who is completely wild, cannot be domesticated, and really does need to be returned. So we're looking at working with them within how they suggest to put up for adoption in the event that they feel like that's appropriate. Like if it's a younger cat who hasn't been socialized, something like that. Whatever we do will be within the requirements of the law and making sure that the cat population is healthy and declining through natural aging and
Very
not
good.
reproducing.
We are a stickler for the rules, that's for sure.
Down near the tennis courts, those cats, they get fed, and I think they're neutered and all that.
Yes.
But is there any way we can put them somewhere? Because I kind of feel bad for them because a lot of times that they don't get fed.
I mean, I'm just curious what the language of that law is and whether you could interpret the return in perhaps a broader geographic sense. Anyway, look, maybe send that over to me when you have a chance. Let me take a look at it.
Right.
Because just bringing them back, they're a health hazard. You've got all the issues with cat scratch fever. We have a lot of little kids here, and they still kill the birds. So, but anyways, you've done a great job, Roy, looking into this. Thank you very much. Let's move on to Coquina Stone Street markers.
And I know that Renee had looked into that. So Renee, would you like to update the commission on that?
Sure. Anthony Beltran, as y'all know, tried and could never get them clean. So Mayor asked me to look into getting a company to clean them. I called several local companies to no avail. And I found a company outside of the county who specializes in Coquina Stone. So I asked him on a time frame of how often they needed to be cleaned if we asked them to clean them, and he said that it was determined by the amount of sunlight they get, how much moisture they take on. Inorganic staining like hard water deposits from irrigation all play a role. Generally speaking, he said the black and green fungus, bacteria, moss, and tannins usually come back in 12 to 18 months. So he said he would just get them restored for now, then in about a year or so, do an assessment to determine how often they would need to be cleaned. So we have booked him to clean them on April 21st. He will come in, clean them in a day. He will take before and after pictures while he is here.
Great. Good. See how that works out. And also, Renee, the next item is turtle lighting, which I think you're involved with.
Yes. All right. So sea turtles are protected on federal, state, and local levels within the county, but the county is the one who enforces the lighting ordinance, with fines ranging from $150 to over $1,000 per violation. So we received our first lighting survey at the end of last month, and there were 20 offenders. 7 of them were multifamily. And so I have called every one of them or emailed them. Everyone was super kind for about 3 of them who, were a little belligerent about they're not going to turn their lights off. So I asked them to either replace them with amber or LED long wavelength lights, which is what they suggest. And they said that they would look into that they weren't promising me anything because they feel safe with the lights on the beach. So I did that, and but they have told me the most recent is there's already 8 leatherback nests on the beach already, and which is leatherbacks are one of the most uncommon species that are endangered. So
What time period did you?
March 1 to October 30th.
May.
I mean, with
March?
respect to getting lights changed out, because our residents need to know this is state and this is state law, federal law, and the county is responsible for enforcing it. And my understanding is they enforce it with vigor, heavy fines, and we want to keep them out of our town. We don't want our residents being subjected to those high-handed efforts.
Most of them changed them already immediately. They've called me and told me that they've changed them.
Okay.
Except for the 2. And so I asked the turtle people, I don't even know their turtle conservation, to call her and to give her some suggestions of what she could do and the lighting she could do. But I did make them aware that this was a courtesy call from the town. We're trying to not get the county involved.
Okay. I mean, let's, I'm sure we'll hear from the conservation people
They
again.
will do another,
perhaps another 4 weeks.
Yeah, they're going to do another one at the end of April. They'll walk out
Right.
and see who's.
And then we'll have to sit down and decide how to go forward with it. Thank you, Renee. Okay, ARPB meeting. Our next meeting is April 23rd at 8:30 a.m. Anyone who wishes to attend, there'll be no August meeting, by the way. Finance report. Who wants to take that one? Mark?
You have the report in front of you for March 31st, 2026. Everything is trending as normal. I just wanted to note one thing that we'll probably be bringing forward formally to close the penny sales tax fund, which that's the infrastructure surtax that ended on December 31st.
Right.
And the town should be receiving no more funds under that. So
How much did we receive on average?
I think it's about 90 grand a year
Yeah.
that the town was receiving. And so we just need to close that account because it's no longer applicable.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Thank you very much, Mark. Chief, activity report.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. I've submitted a report for your review. If you would please accept that report. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer it. There's nothing unusual about the report, nothing that needs to be detailed or spoken about. So any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Any questions to the chief? If not, we'll accept the report as submitted. Let's move on then to items for commission action. Section 7073, this is on the 2-story structures that we have been working with. The ARPB has provided us with several ordinance to address the issues of street-facing 2-story homes and also side-facing 2-story homes. Fred, you want to introduce the issue? Mr. Lyons is here. Perhaps he can address it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. So as the mayor noted, we've been discussing at the ARPB for several months the side setbacks for two-story homes as contained in 7073C. So the entirety of section 7073 is reproduced in the memo dated April 2nd. Subparagraph A relates to the percentage of the home that can be located on the second floor. The second portion deals with the street-facing sides and requires certain architectural designs that impact that street-facing side. It also has a waiver component which allows you to waive that requirement within B if it's inconsistent with the home's architectural style and other things. Again, we're really focusing on subsection C, which is new construction of a second floor single-family house within the core, north, south, and Place Austerley districts. So currently, the requirements are for a 15% additional step back from the first story elevation, which is taken as a percentage of the width of the home. So we had a discussion about this with the property that was approved at Banyan and Polo, which located a significant part of or largely the second story was on one side of the building and not centered. So currently the way that the code reads, it sort of directs a wedding cake style home to be constructed where you have significant side setbacks from the first floor elevation to the second floor, which does provide for some light air and privacy for the adjoining neighbors. What the ARPB has suggested in reviewing this to allow some sort of flexibility, which is what the commission kind of indicated, or what at least I indicated to the ARPB, what the commission desired was some flexibility in design. So they looked at the code as it exists and took a sort of a boilerplate typical 100-foot wide lot with a building that is as wide as possible, which would be 70 feet wide, which takes into account the minimum side setback on each side of 15 feet and 30% of the lot width. So again, we're looking at a stereotypical 100-foot wide lot, 15-foot setback on either side. Within the current example within the code in the strike-through format, a 70-foot wide home, the second story is required to be set back a minimum of 10.5 feet for a 70-foot wide building times 15%, 10.5 from each first floor side building elevation. So again, doing the math, you have a 15-foot side setback for the first floor, an additional 10.5-foot setback for the second floor, which would be 25.5 feet in that example. Side setback. So they said, if we want to provide some design flexibility for architects who want to locate the second story portion closer to one side or the other rather than have a wedding cake feature, they suggested that we amend the code to eliminate the outright percentage and just go to a straight, again, following the desires of the code that was well thought out initially of 15% of the width of the lot. To that sort of established 25-foot setback from the side lot line for the second story portion. And that would be 30 feet for side lot lines because, for street side lot lines because there is an increased 5-foot setback for street facing side setbacks. So that is their recommendation. Something that the commission discussed early on was also that maybe we would take the waiver allotment within subsection B, and we would apply that to C. So that is also reproduced in the second half of the memo, where we'd eliminate that second half of subsection B. We'd add a new subsection D, which indicates that there's a waiver ability for subsection B or subsection C. The issue with, as I see it, with just allowing a straight waiver within subsection C is it eliminates the requirement for a step back on the second floor. And I don't think that the current commissioner ARPB would just sort of grant waivers all the time. but it does bring back, and I'll just show how long I've been on the dais with everyone here. Do we remember the discouraged items and how everyone was allowed 3? And we looked at those and we said, you should really only be getting 1, or we should not just hand them out. So everyone just gets 3 all the time. So we ended up completely eliminating those because it just became that everyone would always get 3 discouraged items every time. So I would be cautious that that waiver would just mean, well, we can waive it because we have this ability under that subsection. So the intent is to allow flexibility, but I don't want that to have a negative impact for the second story setback, down the line, with a different commission or ARPB or staff.
But questions of town manager? It's a mouthful.
But clarifying.
I like both of them, to be honest with you. Town manager and I have talked about this, looked at it. The new proposal works very well for smaller lots. The original proposal with the percentage works better with larger lots. So I like both approaches. And the town manager and I discussed this last night. I think we should give consideration to having a C and D, and it would be the setback would be the greater of either the percentage basis or the flat 25-foot line. Think back to some of the issues that have come before us. The Ellis House is the one really the driving force on this, which had a fairly large lot, but not that large. This new proposal would have confined it to a more defined architectural style, I think, and could have gotten the same house, but perhaps would have been designed just a little bit differently. Larger homes, particularly in the core, ones that are on the water, ones that have much larger lots, and actually there are a few left in the core that this could apply to. The percentage approach, the original one that we have, I think would give a more pleasing side setback as opposed to having this long, drawn out first floor section. Anybody agree with that or have any comments on it? So I guess what I'm saying is I like them both.
So to illustrate that and the impact on a larger lot. So if you look at 3400 Polo, the Coulter home that's under construction, it's a 150-foot wide lot. If you eliminate the requirement to use a percentage, you can build a home of that size where the second story is 25 feet from the lot line, as opposed to the percentage, which would be a larger percentage and would increase that side setback. So it would continue to require the home to be built more sort of centered on those larger lots.
So you're talking for a 2-story, basically, like.
Right, this would only apply
Only
to
apply
the
to the
2-story
two.
and the setback for the second story.
Second story. So what you're doing is creating like a wedding cake for all the second stories. I mean, that it's going to be like cookie cutter.
And that's the benefit of having the design flexibility that the ARPB advocated for, where you can put it different in different locations. If you eliminate the current language, which does require a wedding cake style home, which is very pleasing, and we've done it, but there is design similarity because we are requiring you to step in with that wedding cake 15% of the width of the home
To avoid the box look, the massing,
Yes.
while still having features on it to break up the wedding cake look.
It really gets down to the architecture. I mean, you can take a 2-story home, total 2-story, and make it black-like, or you can make it lovely.
Mhm.
So it really Just architecture.
Because the home we're talking about was a corner lot, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so the architecturally it worked in that scenario because of the layout of the house and the lot. I don't see it working if you've got homes on each side, having it off to one side. So having the flexibility is what I'm saying is what's helpful in a situation like that.
Yeah, flexibility on which proposal.
On the new language.
That's the corner lots. There's a few, but
Yeah, but we don't have many corner
Right.
lots. Um,
Oh, we have
My
pretty
point is we're
many.
not going to see a whole lot outside of the corner lot scenario, but
Right. So let's say the next one is not a corner lot.
I think that's where point D on page 3 makes sense, where there's some flexibility for us to use discretion if it architecturally doesn't make sense.
Right. Okay. What do you think?
I think I don't know. I still think it depends a lot on the architecture of the house, how this all works.
Yeah, because I don't think the language dictates that it has to be a wedding cake. Just the architect needs to use some creativity and design to deal with the math, but it doesn't dictate a symmetrical wedding cake.
I think we're losing the concept. We don't want block style houses, and that goes back to architecture. And no matter how much we regulate, they can put in a block style house and then we're not going to be happy. Isn't there some way we can define architecture style, like not gingerbread, but features?
Means we have these broad discretionary elements in our code
Yeah.
that you cannot have excessive similarity or an excessively dissimilar look, very broad based. So we have ammunition in the code to address this. I think it's hard to understand, to be quite honest with you. So I would not be in favor of urging forward a motion on this right now. I just think it requires a little more thought.
I agree with you. I mean, I wish that we could work on it
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Paul, you,
Please. Good morning.
Yes.
By the way, we have two other members of the Architecture Review and Planning Board, Michael Klein and Katie Orthwine. I'm not quite sure where to start, but maybe I'll go back to the history. Back in 2015, the mayor was concerned and others were concerned about the second story being large and looming over other people's properties. And in order to address or analyze that subject, we brought in architects, Marty Miner, urban planner, and the current code was the one that was proposed. Due to the Ellis application, there was some confusion as to what that code stated. And so we tried to simplify the language. But let me get to the heart of the issue. The second story setback is trying to address the privacy and the enjoyment of the adjoining properties. And I believe, and I think the other members of the Architecture Review and Planning Board believe that you have to have a minimum to provide an adequate separation of the properties for privacy, for natural light, for airflow. So as a member of the Architecture Review and Planning Board, the thing that's most critical in my mind is maintaining an adequate separation defined by an absolute number of feet. What you do in between that those parameters, I think there's a lot of arguments in favor of going different ways, but I think we should have a minimum. And otherwise, there's a section of the code that addresses standards by which the ARPB and the commission are required to ensure that the site plan does not negatively impact the adjoining properties for their use and enjoyment. And I think 25 feet on second story is a minimum. So those are my thoughts. I don't know whether I can answer any questions. But I do want to remind everybody that the process we undertook to address this issue previously, we had numerous architects. We had Marty Marno. And at that time, the commission unanimously also agreed with that conclusion. So, it's a difficult subject, but trying to find the right balance between protecting the community of existing homes and an applicant who's wanting to build a new home. I think this is the right balance. So,
No, I agree. And I mean, I think we all agree. I like the minimum of 25 foot. However, I think in larger properties, that's insufficient. And that's why I like the original percentage approach that you took. And that's why I'm kind of advocating for a minimum of 25. But in certain cases of larger properties, we use that percentage to actually increase the setback. And then we still have the language that you've provided that gives us additional discretion to avoid the wet, house after house with wedding cake. It's not going to look right. And whether they move that to the side, put it in the back, whatever, it allows us flexibility to do that. So I'm not quite sure how that language would read, combining the two. That's my inclination. I agree with you 100%. There needs to be a minimum, and then you work from that.
I mean, my view is I would absolutely embrace what you're suggesting. Just keep in mind that one of the reasons we did suggest that we move away from that formula was, as Trey cited, there's a tendency to force the second story into the middle of the house.
Right.
And so you do get more of a wedding cake effect. And we thought that just establishing those minimum parameters where you could slide the second story within those parameters gave some architectural innovation, flexibility. One other comment, I think that whatever code we adopt, that it be fixed, that the commission not be able to, or ARPB for that matter, to waive the requirement. I think setbacks or the other setbacks in our code, there's no discretion given to the ARPB or the commission. And I think those are minimums that are necessary. So those are my comments.
Well,
Would you like to add anything? Michael? No?
That takes away D. Waiving the requirements of subsections B's and C if you can demonstrate features are inconsistent with the home style, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't mitigate the fixed amount with architectural. I mean, you need a certain amount for visual, airflow, et cetera. So I think it should be like every other setback, a minimum, and you can't waive it. Am I clear on what I'm trying to articulate?
Yeah, I'm just trying to combine both. Or maybe I'm not reading it correctly. I think certainly we're getting there. I think it would not be appropriate to try to rule on this right now. I just haven't thought about it enough. I don't think.
There are two issues. One, the formula, using the new one and the old one with the greater of or a combination thereof. And the second thing is whether you can waive out of it or not. Because if you don't have a waiver, then you drop into a variance, which is almost never
Right.
granted
Yeah.
unless it's a special circumstance not afforded to other lot owners. It's not, that's unique to that lot, I should say. So I don't just necessarily disagree with, on the waiver, getting rid of the waivers.
You think we should have that?
No, I don't think we should.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think as long as the formula is workable,
Right,
which is what the mayor's suggesting.
Right,
He wants
the
a little more
formula's right.
Wants a little more flexibility.
Gives us a
in the
little
formula.
flexibility.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy for ARPB, me, or any members that help you work through this issue. I think we're moving in the right direction.
All right, let's send it back.
We have
A workshop?
Trey, without a separate, do we have a couple models on this?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, typically when you get into the formulas in this code and other codes, of course, I don't like sightline stuff, it's confusing, but typically you have not that we're going to code, we need like a couple of models based on the 70 foot, because we're kind of vacillating between, our example today is a corner lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and we're really, there's, the corner lots we deal with them quite a bit, but there's not that many of them, and now we're talking about lots and plots of soil in the corner that are not corner lots. And then,
Right, what we're focused on now came out of a particular application. That won't be the next application.
No.
So as the vice mayor said, we need to have something that applies to.
Well, maybe
To
you and I
everything.
can sit down, at least have some general discussion.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
I think we need examples too. I mean,
Oh,
I think,
absolutely. Absolutely.
because I think it's hard to just have the wording and not see like one house versus another house as we go forward.
Oh, I think visuals are always great.
Yeah.
So so I just want to apologize for this not being more thoroughly vetted in the package, because all of that was provided to the ARPB. We had several examples. We had the percentage of the second floor, the side setbacks for the Gebauer house on Gulfstream Road, the house that no one seems to like on Old School that's very large. So a lot of our most recent applications, we had all those figures and those numbers and the setbacks and what it looked like.
Yeah.
So you could actually see, all right, this is workable for this area. And
let's just think about it and like do the whole, depending on what the agenda looks like, do the whole, because we have to, if they're recommending something to us that we're voting on, we can't start meeting about it off campus without being a public. Why don't we just have like a more thorough presentation with the things up on the board? I wouldn't necessarily call it a workshop. If we had a commission meeting, if we're comfortable with it, we could, make a decision then or send it back. But then that general run
Yeah.
will be done, and we'll look at the video.
I'm being facetious sending it back. I mean, I'd be more inclined with what Joan said, is to bring back the working group to, do some computer programs, put,
Sure.
a variety of different applications where you kind of sit down at a table. You're not confined by the dais and the strictures of Robert's Rules of Order. And then bring that back with the examples and a combination of these two code sections, with that recommendation.
I think examples are what we need. I mean, clear cut examples.
We, as Trey cited, we looked at different examples, but I think what we can do is just do a graphic kind of presentation of where the second story would sit on this formula, because that's.
Do you have that all from the ARPB, or do you need to reconvene a smaller group to
Well, I think
computer
Trey- I mean,
PowerPoint together? And
we do have our ARPB meeting later this month.
Right.
We do have some applications, so we can just add that as an item to the agenda with some sort of a presentation, have a discussion, and sort of, if the ARPB has any suggestions on how to change that presentation, we'll have them watch this video in our discussion, see what the issues are, and try to address them all, and then bring it back next month for the commission.
You know,
If
when you
that-
talked about airflow too, I mean, you have to take in landscape, direction of the house, whether it's east, west, north, south. Where is it located? I mean,
And
is
all,
it,
I mean, all
I
these
mean,
things
all
were,
that, you have to take
yeah.
all that into account.
It's not like there's 2 or 3.
We did.
No, I mean, and it's a real difference whether, you know, what direction it is.
Yeah, I
East,
agree. I
west,
think
north,
this is
south.
much more involved than just putting up a few homes
Yeah.
and looking at it. Because we have so many different, we have, a lot of different neighborhood districts. They're all different. And I know this only applies to maybe 3 of them, but still, we have a variety of different homes. County Road's a lot different than Plaza Soleil. The core itself has very different types of home. Yeah, I think it needs, more evaluation.
Well, just to, as you cited, Mayor, as you review applications, there's a lot of discretion. I don't know if that's the right term, but there's an opportunity to apply various sections of the code as relates to architectural design. And so you can deal with some of these absolutes, and they're absolutes, but then it still has to fit within the architectural standards. And there's a lot of helpful guidance in the code as to that. So if you see a building that you don't think, because of the way it's sitting architecturally, you can challenge it under a lot of the provisions of the code. So I hear what you want to do, and we will do that.
Can I interject one more thing? Is because we have an architecture review board with alternates, sometimes they're not the same. So I think we need to mandate everyone gets the plans from now on and agrees with it, because what happens is someone comes in for one meeting and looks at plans, and then the next meeting, it's a different group of people. And I think some of that should be fixed too.
Well,
I'm not adding to your problems,
Right.
but I think that's a problem too.
we are trying to address that as a conversation piece at the end of today's agenda.
Okay. I'm ahead of myself.
Taking a
Sorry.
step towards
Sorry.
addressing that.
Before,
Okay.
can I take a moment to address a different subject?
Sure.
I wanted to compliment the police department. I have a couple of friends, one fellow and his wife were in a bad car accident on A1A. And they were so overwhelmed by the care and the timing. They were right there. They were concerned. They saw him the next day, and they really appreciate it. And then another resident, a good friend, he had a medical incident, and he and his wife felt so much more comfortable by the quick response and how the 2 officers handle it. So I appreciate it. I mean, that's one of the most significant benefits we have as a community. So I want to be sure to convey that.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
We're very pleased with our police department. Thank you, Paul. Okay, so our consensus is let the ARPB revisit this consistent with what we've discussed today and try to come up with some sort of, I think a PowerPoint presentation would be more appropriate, and to expand the number of homes, and as Joan said, landscaping details, water, no water, a variety of different approaches so that we can get a better handle on what's the best approach to setbacks. Okay. All right. Ordinance 26/1. This is the shutter ordinance, Mr. Nazaro.
Yeah, yes, sir, that's correct. So this is the hurricane shutter ordinance that's presented for first reading after discussion at the February meeting from several Place Soleil residents. Of principal concern is whether to regulate shutters in season or to prohibit them year round. So the language in the ordinance itself that you've been presented with relates to the seasonal restrictions, while the language in the memo can be adopted to prevent storm shutters out of season as well, except for 14 days before and after a tropical storm or hurricane watch or warning. So the question is whether or not a resident can leave on May 1st, put up their shutters, and then return December 1st and then remove their shutters. So if they're gone that entire time, During hurricane season, they could remain up, but they would be required to be pulled down. However, some of our residents from Place au Soleil believe that it is more appropriate that we prohibit them year round, except for only when a hurricane is incoming and 14 days before and after that. The proposed ordinance does not differentiate between single family and multifamily. So that's something that we may want to consider if we are looking at a year-round prohibition. So I'm just presenting that to you for discussion.
Does anybody wants to speak to address it from Place au Soleil? Brian, you brought this issue to the fore. If you would come up to the stand, just state your name and address, please.
Brian Isaacson, 2500 Avenue au Soleil. So I don't think to do half the year and still have these shutters up, we've only accomplished half of the problem, right? We left the other half fully exposed. I have photos of my phone of today that I'd be happy to share. I don't know how to share them up there, but fully shuttered up, fully back, front, on the waterway, the whole, it just is an inappropriate look, and it's not necessary. I don't really know what else I can say about it. I mean, why shutter up year round?
Well, what about people who leave for the season
Have a,
and then a
have
storm
a housekeeper come put them up, take them down. There's services out there. They're a dime a dozen to come out and put up shutters during the storm. I know my parents always did that where they lived. They always had someone come put them up, bring in the patio furniture, do all that kind of stuff during the storms.
A number of electric shutters, they have to get in the house to activate them. I'm just thinking of like multifamily homes. It just
electric
strikes me.
shutters-
Condos.
I would think in today's
I'm not
day,
sure.
I can control all of my window coverings and everything right from my phone. I could do it sitting right over there, and I could put my shutters up and down right now for electric shutters. I mean, that's just today how it is. I'm talking about the manual ones that are
Yeah, I know
bolted
what
up to the
yeah,
side of the
right.
house.
No, the ones we've seen over in Place au Soleil that you're objecting to. Let's discuss this.
I have a lot of sympathy for this issue. I think particularly folks that are living here year round, they shouldn't have to feel like they're living in a boarded up community. If you're going to own multiple homes, you should be responsible for maintaining them properly, which is it should look presentable the entire year. And if you need to protect yourself from the storm, you should have somebody go and back down the hatches. I think that's a responsibility of owning multiple homes for me, from my perspective. So that shouldn't subject those that are here year round to have to look at it.
I would agree.
Good
with
point.
that entirely.
I would agree with Mike. I don't think you could state that any better. If you're gonna have multiple homes, there's plenty of means to take care of that while you're gone.
The one that's in contention right now, they have a house caretaker. He comes over, does the whatever around the yard. I mean, so
Right.
they have somebody already, that particular home. But I think this is bigger than just that one home.
The only thing I have is 2 weeks before a storm is fine, or, when they first hear it. But if there's a hurricane, the 2 weeks after could be a little problematic, trying to get shutters down or, what's going on in the world. So that's the only thing, maybe
Yeah, we
give them a
can
little bit
extend-
longer to
Sure,
get
we
them
can
down.
extend that beyond 14 days.
I just think 14 days after, it might be a category 3. It's, people are picking up debris.
Sure.
It's a lot.
Sure.
If you don't have a caretaker, you go on the list, just like the awning.
That's what I meant.
Running people get back to you to put your awnings up. I won't mention any of our contractors downtown. If you have a storm in July or August, they get to you in February. So you're just the storm showed a little bit better. Obviously, if you have your own caretaker, depending on what you have, whether it's a roll up or not, they can get there within a week or two. But some people may have either maybe doing it themselves or they go on a list because they're using a service of some sort.
Yeah, we can adjust the dates, the before and the after dates. I think it's the idea of you can't just put them up 6 months, go away,
Right.
and leave them up.
Right.
Joan, what do you think?
You know what? I'm totally against them up year round. You know,
One more idea.
oh, go ahead.
Just a thought, just jumped
Okay.
into my head. Is there a way to word it such that if your area has been impacted by this storm, because let's face it, I mean, they put the warnings and the watches up very broad. And not everyone gets hit. It's very isolated where the storm hits. It's generally the damages from the eye of the storm for the most part. I've been in Florida since I was 5 years old, and that's been my experience. Is there a way to word it such that if your area has been impacted by the storm, and NOA, the NNOA announces that where it impacted, then you have more time to do your cleanup? That make sense or not?
I mean, sure, it could be a reasonableness based on circumstances,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
basic
Yeah.
language.
That's what I was trying to interject.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in about the 14 days?
Sure.
So in administering the code, we would have to notice someone's shutters not being up after 14 days. We would then have to give them a reasonable time between 14 and 30 days to remedy that violation. We would then set them for hearing. So in addition to the 14 days, they're getting a significant amount of time before we can even find them. Meanwhile, just notifying them of the corrective issue. And, you know, if there are issues, I mean, listen, if, you know, town hall doesn't have a roof, we're really not going to be interested in people's hurricane shutters coming up or down. You know, so, you know, I think that it's important to know, see people, obviously debris and everything, there are going to be all these other issues. But in the practical enforcement from administration side, you know, I don't think that the 14 days is going to be an issue. It could realistically, before we could find them, it would probably be more like 30 or 45 days, and the special magistrate would give them a reasonable time to comply. So then that, you know, we're looking at more and more time.
Okay, so you don't even need the additional language. The issue is, do you want this during season, which is what most towns do, or do you want it year round, as we've been talking about? Mike makes a good point that the people who leave for an extended period of time, it's a second home. And second homes come with obligations to the rest of the neighbors when it's not a second home. You know, they're living, it's their main home. And they are unsightly.
Particularly in a world of high impact windows.
Yeah.
Right.
know.
You know, there's certainly, I don't have any shutters on my house. I'm hoping the windows work, but to me, it's just respect for your neighbors. You know, people live here year round. A lot of people live here year round now. We work here year round.
Yeah, you know what, because I've been here so long, people used to board up more and just leave. And it was really like you were living in a ghost town.
Yeah.
So it's sort of unsightly. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many, I don't see that much anymore. So, I mean, but I agree with boarding up all year. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just scary.
Yeah, I mean, look what happened to that other property, the what is it, 20, I forget.
2900.
That, and because that was all boarded up and shuttered up, there were squatters in there.
Yeah.
Who knows on the inside, you know, is everyone safe? Are there squatters? Nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
There's no signs of life. It looks like abandonment.
I don't think I have flexibility after it hits because it is hard to get people to come fix things or anything.
Sure.
I mean, Roladins, I mean,
Sure.
they're all on motors, and that's my only issue with some of this. It could be more than 45 days sometimes before you can get.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about taking it down. I'm concerned about putting it up.
Oh.
Storm's coming, as Tom said, you've got companies that, you know, we just can't get to it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
big storm
true.
coming. Now we have so many people we have to do. We just can't get to the house today.
I think that's
That
part
would
of
be my-
owning the house. I have a boat, right? Storm comes. Nobody's gonna do anything for me but myself. I'm gonna have to make sure I find somebody, pre-contract somebody. I have arrangements, strap down the boat, get it out of the water. Those are the responsibilities that are put upon me to own the boat. You own the house, that's your responsibility.
I know you make good points. So you're for it? Year round,
I go year round.
year round?
Yeah, if you're around, as long as we don't
Okay.
punish people after a hurricane.
Yeah.
We've got reasonable enforcement mechanisms if there's a special circumstance.
Okay, good. I think that's the way it's going to go. How do we do this? We have a proposed ordinance, the original one, which was just seasonal, and then a memorandum.
Or we'd have
Should we redraft?
we'd have to read
Post.
it and-
So what we could do is we could replace the language with an ordinance 26/1 with the language in the memo starting 21 during the period beginning on May 1 and ending December 1st. Storm shutters or hurricane protection devices on buildings which remain in place except for 14 days prior to or following a tropical storm watch or warning or a hurricane watch or warning in effect for any portion of the town of Gulfstream. During the period beginning December 1 and ending May 1, no storm shutters or hurricane protection devices on buildings shall remain in a closed/secured position so as to block windows or doors except in the event of storm conditions. So that would replace the language within 21 in the ordinance.
Does that have to be redrafted and posted?
Yeah, I have one more comment to make on this, is some people leave town for 2 weeks or a month in the summer, and they like to close up their house before they leave. How, couldn't we make a provision for those people who are being, they're gone for a month, they go on a cruise or whatever, and they don't have anybody else, they do it themselves. I'm just trying to make it 2 weeks to a month. They're trying to do it. I'm just saying 2 weeks to a month. No?
Well, but I mean, as Trey said, by the time that complaint would be acted on,
It's
and
it's
enforced,
over, yeah.
they'll be
Well,
home.
so they're gonna board up their house and leave town for 2 weeks.
yeah, no, there are permanent residents who will do that.
Yeah.
And to be preemptive, storm, who knows what's out there, they board up.
Okay. I just don't want to
but-
punish those people who are trying to be responsible, leave for 2
Right.
weeks or a month and board up their house, because I know people who do that. They board up their house because they don't want people in and out, so they want to be in control, and then they leave. Not me, but I do know people who do that. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
And the time they, you know what I'm saying?
I do. I
That's the only exception for this.
There's no way to track that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just add, for very particular circumstances like that, because you can't account for everything in the code.
right.
In addition to the time they have with notice before going to hearing, if for some reason those deadlines sync up perfectly and it's a very unfortunate circumstance and the fines start running, the second they find out, they come back, come into compliance. Let's say it's been 7-8 days. They can always move for a fine reconsideration and plead those considerations to the special magistrate, and that could reduce those fines or extinguish them, as long as that's what the code allows for.
Well, I mean, if somebody leaves for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even 4 weeks, by the time a complaint is registered and you give them notice, they'll be back. There wouldn't even be fines. Now,
Presumably.
if they're gone for 8 weeks, well, then that's what we're trying to address here.
Well, no, I'm not saying
So,
8 weeks. I'm saying
right.
2 to 4 weeks. I
Right.
mean, is there a way to come in and ask permission to put up their shutters before they leave? That's all I'm asking, for 2 weeks. I'm not asking for the summer or anything like that. Just they're going on vacation.
Yeah, so the question is, do you want to include language for a short waiver at, staff permission,
That's-
or do you
That's all
Just
I'm asking for,
let
is
them-
staff permission
let
for
it play
2,
out?
2, 4. I just hate people
Yeah.
that get complaints and they're going on vacation, they've done what they're supposed to do, and they don't want people in and out of their house. And so they want to do
Well,
it
the town manager
themselves.
can issue exemptions. You do it with contractors.
The ability to, I just don't think that it would be an issue. We'll have to,
Okay.
we have to know, just based on the timing and what we're allowed to do within the code enforcement statutes. It would be, we'd receive a complaint, we'd send them notice, 14 to 30 days to comply. If they don't, then we have to sync up with our special magistrate, get a hearing set. And then the magistrate is typically going to say you need to come into compliance. And if they come into compliance within a certain amount of time, which they're likely going to be back, I guess the issue would come up is if, they're leaving for 4 weeks every year and they're kind of like a repeat violator, that's where it would, it could be problematic.
Yeah, but I agree with Joan on this one.
Yeah.
I don't want to I don't want a resident to feel like they're in violation every time and their neighbors get angry at them. It seems to me if they're going to leave for a short period of time and they're being proactive to protect their house, then they should be able to notify the town and get an exemption so they're not violating the code for a short period of time. I mean, if they're leaving for 8 weeks, no, that's not what we're not going to allow that.
Yeah.
But, and then I think the residents can understand. But I don't think you should make a scofflaw of residents who do this.
Well, I know I have hurricane impact shutters. This doesn't apply to me, but I do know some people put up their own hurricane shutters and they'll leave for a couple of weeks. And I think if we said, oh, you're going to go to spot, they'll feel like they're not being a good citizen and they'll get angry about it as opposed to
Right.
being responsible. That's all. It's just
I think it should, that
people
language
going
should
on
be added.
vacation in the summer. That's it.
I think there should be some language added that gives the town manager the authority, just as you do with contractors, to give special exemptions
Sure.
under certain circumstances. And that's how you would allow it. So let's redraft the ordinance and we'll bring it back for first reading.
Great.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to defer or no?
Yes.
Well, it's being
They're
it's
not.
going to be rewritten.
That's fine, then I don't need to read it.
We don't need a motion to defer it, do we?
No, we'll come back.
If it's
come
coming
back
back for
with it.
first reading, just make sure
You
it's
wanna-
properly noticed.
Limit it to a month for your discretion, limit it to 2 weeks or a month. I mean, I'm just trying to put some,
I
if you
just-
want more. language.
I figured we would discuss it. I have 4 weeks just in my notes.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
well,
can
That's
change
fine.
that.
Is that-
Figure what
I mean-
language is best.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that, I think that balances the interests here. Do you agree, Brian?
Honestly,
No?
no.
Yeah,
There's life safety issues.
I love you, man, but no, you.
Responsibilities that the homeowners have.
Yeah,
The board up for 2 weeks, I don't even really see that as.
I think you're shooting holes in your ordinance. that you're trying to pass.
That's really.
let's see how it let's see how it goes. Yeah, I there are some older people in this town who still have the shutter. I could, I've been here a long time. I agree with Joan. I've seen a lot of people do this. So,
I see people, they literally leave for 10 days in the summer and they'll board up their house and then they'll come and unboard it or do the Roladins. I mean, just they feel safer leaving because their house is protected before they leave in case they can't get back. And that's the only instance.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
that
the
I'm not,
Police department will have door locks.
well, no. Often the police, aren't going to go into the house and put down their
They won't
shutters.
ever. If I'm leaving and I notify the police department I'm going for a month, they actually walk around my.
yeah.
Oh,
that's
sure
a
they
good
will.
thing.
They're not going to put up your shutters. And these people, I know how they think. They're older, they're concerned, they leave for 2 weeks, and then a storm is notified. There's a storm coming. They don't come back because they're concerned. And in fact, a storm does come. So I think we have to be accommodating to all of the various interests here while addressing the primary concern, which is the aesthetics in the town. Anyways, we can debate it again at the next meeting, but we're going to draft the language. I didn't put this to everybody else. This is just Joan and me.
I mean, what do you think?
What do you guys think?
I just happen to know some.
If you
older
disagree,
people
we won't
this.
do it.
No, I guess my little comments would be, my presumption is on some of the older residents that maybe their windows aren't hurricane impact windows, and this second level of safety provides some comfort per se. Newer homes, I'm not even sure why they need hurricane shutters, to be quite honest with you, but given the windows, but I'm also not a builder or an architect. I said that my house was built on, I think in 6 or 7 years ago. There's no hurricane shutters on my house, and it looks the same whether I'm there or not. But I do understand there's older housing stock, and you don't want to create that problem. But as soon as you create the window, people will we'll lock them down, whether they're 30 years old or 70 years old, right? So, I'd be for tighter than looser with the ability to create some exceptions. But I do think it opens up a window for folks just doing what they want.
Now, what do you guys think?
I'm
Is there some-
opposed if there's a few exceptions like that. I think the spirit of what we've been talking about regarding this is what's happening in Plaza Soleil, where they go up and just stay up. And even when some of these people come back to town, they'll take the door off and maybe one of the windows, but leave the rest of the shutters up the entire time they're there. That's the spirit of what I think we're trying to accomplish here, is to avoid that scenario.
Yeah.
If there's a few exceptions where people come and go for a few weeks, I don't think that's going to be a huge deal. But it's having them up year round. And I would imagine the fire department would have something to say about it too. I think you mentioned life safety. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. And that's why I mean, to echo what Mike said too, if you're going to own the home, multiple homes that in a hurricane zone, you have to have something to, a plan in place.
I don't think there are many people that this exemption would apply to.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
But the ones that it does apply to, I'm sensitive to their concerns. That, what do you think, Tom?
I think we should probably have the exception, but the group of residents were probably concerned about, I think, because of the housing stock and whatnot, and window replacement and alternative. I think you're not going to need it.
It's going to go away.
You're not going to need it in several years.
I think shutters are probably going to be obsolete someday with all the hurricane impact.
Well,
That's
people
what-
do put shutters over their impact.
Yeah, I know.
windows.
Yeah,
So,
they
you know,
do.
try to get an impact window replaced post hurricane or something. It's pretty difficult, but anyway.
Can the language be tight
I'm
enough?
okay with it, but it doesn't, I don't think it needs to be permanent. You know, and eventually, again, with the housing
Mhm.
stock and improvements, you're not gonna need it, and then it'll just be taken advantage of.
Yeah. Well, it's, the language would be important so that it doesn't open itself up to
So they can't abuse.
But I just don't, I see this as such a limited group that are going to do this.
So would it be, would the commission entertain an exemption that expired in 10 years unless renewed or something like that? So we'd have that, or do you want to just kind of leave it on? And then we can always remove it down the line.
Leave it on.
Leave it on.
I think that you need to tighten the words so it's
Yeah.
specific for 2 weeks to a month. I mean, that is it. I mean, and tighten that up so they can't take advantage of it. I think that's the not to abuse what we're trying to do.
Yeah, let's work on that language. I
Yeah,
think
well,
this can be
yeah.
done where it's not going to be abused at all.
Okay.
I mean, they'll literally have to come in here.
Just for clarification, is the commission's request just to add the language about a limited waiver at the town manager's sole discretion?
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yes.
For the purpose of vacation or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as it says at the town manager's sole discretion, he
Correct.
can exercise your wishes. It doesn't even have to be more specific than that. It can be his sole discretion, and someone can come in before they're about to leave, state their purpose and reason. Hey, I'm about to have surgery. I'm going to be in the hospital for 3 weeks. Something like that's not vacation, but I assume the commission would make that limited exception as well. So as long as there's discretion on his end, I think that's fine.
What if we change term?
I'm comfortable with
I'm
that.
comfortable with you. But I don't know.
I think that was the language I was thinking of, something very general.
Okay.
Totally deferring. If you get someone who abuses, we'll know about it because we know the homes that have done, have abused the situation. And we know the people who don't, who are legitimately concerned about leaving town for, 2 weeks and a storm comes in. So I don't think it'll be a problem at all. I would just add that brief language.
So with that in mind, then I think you're good to go to vote on this. The language isn't changing it substantively, so you don't need to not vote on it, kill it, and introduce a new ordinance.
So we can vote on this with this one exception?
Yes, and then you can look at the proposed language at second reading. It's not changing it substantively, so notice-wise, you'd be okay versus restarting the whole wheel here on just a limited exception.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's do that.
Disagree.
I'm good with that.
All right, so is there a motion for, well, you have to read it,
Yeah,
so.
Well, we're substituting the
Yeah.
Article 21 for the added portion on Article 21 on the actual document from the memo. So it has to be read in, and then you're adding that what do you have, notwithstanding the foregoing or something better than that, that a resident may apply for a special exemption from the town manager, which may be granted and his or her sole discretion.
something along those lines. Yeah, that sounds good. The exact language doesn't need to be hammered out here, but as long as
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
sound good?
fine with me.
I'll
That's-
second that.
All right, Ms. Basil, can you read the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the Town Code of Ordinances at Chapter 22 nuisances, Article 2 unsightly, unsafe, or unsanitary conditions, Section 2231 prohibited, providing for severability, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, providing an effective date on this first reading today, April 10th, 2026.
Ordinance 26/1 has been presented to us on first reading as amended. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second,
Renee?
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwyne,
yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on then to Resolution 26/2. Mr. Nazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. So you've been presented with Resolution 26/2, which relates to termination and replacement of an easement at 2775 Avenue Au Soleil. I do have Attorney Lashley here from Jones Foster to handle that. His office has been working on the language within the legal document. We also have the property owner and the property owner's attorney here to discuss some changes that they would like. We just wanted to get this teed up because it's been discussed for several months, and we just wanted this to be.
Well, just tell us
brought
what the
forth for
original
consideration.
issue was and why it's being addressed.
So originally, the property owner was unaware of an easement located on their property. This is originally lot 93 of the plat of Place Au Soleil. They were, as were a handful of other property owners on the north end that bordered 2900 Avenue Au Soleil, provided with a certain amount of property from that 2900 Avenue Au Soleil property that become part of their lot. So this lot 93 is now the original platted lot plus an additional piece of property that was originally part of 2900. As the commission probably remembers from a recent approval, maybe a year or two ago, that Mr. Lashley's office handled for us as well. We had an abandonment, a similar issue with an abandonment of that easement on 2900 and replacement of an easement for our water line that now goes through Blue Water Cove, exits in between two of the final lots there on the south, and then services the barrier island through their seawall and under the intercoastal. So that exact same easement as is at issue here. There's been a dispute as to whether or not that easement exists. There was some delays on my part and the homeowner's attorney part to get this teed up a little bit sooner. They were provided with some documentation. They did not agree that the easement exists. So I got Jones Foster involved. They did a title report. Old Republic did see that the easement that was part of 2900 originally does exist on the property. They still dispute that. So that's just a lot of disagreement about this parcel and the easement. However, there is agreement that we want to abandon that easement if it does exist and grant a replacement easement that handles our water line. So the water line that runs on the east side of this property along the property line, which was part of an original platted easement, turns from the feeder line that still goes on part of the 2900 property and through the east side of their property and services the entirety of Place Au Soleil. In the future, as part of our capital improvement project, we may look at relocating that line depending on its age and condition to more easily service it, but that has not been done yet. So we do still need to have some sort of easement instead of just abandoning everything. So this is critical infrastructure that services Place Au Soleil that currently exists there. And with that, I can hand it over to Mr. Lashley or
So there was some confusion as to whether there was an easement. The owners of the property felt it either was not an easement or it was not clear the town felt it was. So you're asking us to abandon whatever that old easement was and establish a new detailed easement so that everyone agrees as to what that easement is.
Yes, sir. That's
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the easement agreement that you have in your backup material today was the latest draft we had at the time the materials for this needed to be prepared. However, Carly Madison at my office and the property owner's attorney have been going back and forth since that draft and exchanging some additional red lines. The long and short of it, my understanding after speaking with Ms. Madison, who is the one handling the day-to-day negotiations on it, is the draft you have in your packet is really the most, includes a couple provisions that we feel the town would be conceding in order to show some good faith effort here to come to a resolution. My understanding is that draft was not accepted by the property owner, and we'll hear from the property owner and specifically what they're looking for. But as far as our office is concerned, I'm not sure we're willing to recommend any additional provisions be added to the draft that you all have.
I mean, it's an easement.
Yes.
It's just an easement.
Agreed. There's some unique requests being asked by the property owner, and I can tell you specifically. Provisions 5 and 6 regarding restoration and notice are unusual provisions, not consistent with the town's easements that we did add as a concession to try and accommodate the property owner here with some of the nuances of this property. However, they're requesting additional things beyond that, and the town attorney's office isn't comfortable recommending the acceptance of anything beyond that by the town. But again, the property owner and our council's here to present.
Okay, an 8.5 foot wide easement.
Or are we just down to restoration and notice?
Well,
Advancing those clauses a little more.
I'm not exactly sure because this is very fluid of what's, yeah, exactly.
Let's hear from the property owner.
Members of the commission, I'm David Beckerman. I represent the Ermers, who are the owners of the property. Ms. Ermers is here as well. Ms. Ermers has prepared a summary, which I think is going to be very helpful for the commission to really analyze this. I will go over those points and go over what is a very short history of this property in a very bullet point format, but so that the commission understands where we're coming from. But to get to the end of the story, as Mr. Lashley pointed out, we have gone back and forth and we're actually pretty close. We can get into whether or not there's an easement or not, and we can explain to you why we contend there was never an easement, because the commission really never even, or the town, not the commission, the town never realized that this water line really ran under the property. But let's put that aside for a second, because I really want to get to the bottom line so the commission can do what is right. We have had several title companies look into this, and nobody can find this easement for this water line that runs directly along the east side of the property. Taking it from that standpoint, we are willing to give to the commission or give to the town an 8.5 foot easement has been requested, which can then follow that line and give the town the access to the water line that it would need as in a typical easement. But all we are really asking for and where the line of disagreement comes from is we just want the town to take responsibility for this water main that we don't believe the town knew was there until last year when our contractor discovered it. And take responsibility that if something happens to that line, if it bursts, if it needs maintenance, if it needs repair, if it needs to be moved, that the town simply come in and restore the property to where it is. The proposals and where the source of disagreement between the town's outside counsel and the Ermers is that the town is only willing to, in effect, repair the sod. I mean, we're talking about just putting the grass back. I'm going to put it in simplistic terms, and not take responsibility for other structures around the property. So if the commission will allow, Ms. Ermers has this summary that I can just go through quickly. She has a copy for each of you if it's permissible to present that to you.
It is. Probably should have had it before the meeting, however.
Yeah, we were hoping to have this resolved before the meeting. We only prepared it. We only were able to complete preparing it yesterday. So I agree with you. We should have had it to you before, but we were hopeful that we would reach a resolution, and we did not. What the summary shows, and I'll go through it quickly, is that back in 2019, there were the owner of Stanton Optical came in, and he was going to buy the lot and the lot adjacent to it on the east side and build a home over the entire lot, crossing both lots, which would have then put this water line underneath the home. The mention of this water line never came up during any of those proceedings. The town ultimately denied that request because of the setback issues, the size of the property, some zoning and other issues. But this water line was never brought up. We fast forwarded to November of 2022, and at that time it was the DeSico home, and the ARPB in the town approved the full architectural and site plans. There was landscaping and hedge layouts. There was a septic tank laid in the ground. There were other structures that were put in this property. Some were within 5 feet of this water line, others within 15 feet of the water line, and that no mention of this water main was ever presented. Those structures were approved and were installed. Fast forwarded now to March or April of 2024. Just 2 years ago, the Ermers came in, they bought the property. The only issue that came up was this HOA landscaping issue. There was no water main line disclosed. The Ermers ended up purchasing the property, started construction, site plans. Mrs. Ermers has been before this commission numerous times over this property. Site plans were approved, construction was approved. Air conditioning lines and units, pool equipment was all laid in the property, somewhat close to this water line. This water line was not discovered until the Ermers contractor discovered it last April and found it, and as a matter of fact, had to go out and hire a company to map this water line that runs along the east side of the property. Doesn't even run in a straight line, and had to go in and dig holes to actually map out this line to present to the town. As Mr. Nazaro has pointed out, we've gone back and forth on this issue for a much longer time than has been necessary. The Ermers have spent good deal of time, good deal of effort, and unfortunately added significant expenses for their contractor, for plans, for sketches of this water line. Title reports, we've gotten two separate title companies, well-known title companies, Stewart Title and Delray Title have presented documentation to show that there was never an easement for this property. So all we are asking for is we're willing to give the town the easement. That's not in dispute. We've come to an agreement that we're going to give you an 8.5-foot easement. We just want the protection with all the structures that are already in this easement, already near the water line, that would be within this easement, that if there's a problem, the town's going to take responsibility and not just go in, dig up something, do some repairs, destroy some of their equipment, say, okay, we'll put back the grass and that's it. That's what's not acceptable to us. We're willing to work with the town. We want to reach an agreement. We don't want to end up having this dispute where we don't want to have to go to court to prove we're right or you're right about this easement. All of that would become academic if we could just get the commission to agree that you will take responsibility for any damages that are caused by either any repair, maintenance, or line breakage that happens on this easement.
So I just have to provide a few points of clarity. So first and foremost, I have a title search report from Old Republic that our firm sought and was issued in February 3rd of 2026. I wish I had more copies. We can make more copies, where this easement is expressly acknowledged in this report from Old Republic. So the dispute of whether it's there or not, I don't, from the town's perspective, I don't see that there's a valid dispute. You heard that it may have been known or unknown. That doesn't mean that it was or was not there, validly recorded in the public records, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what this title research shows. And where that easement is where their current property sits. So it would be in their best interest to also agree to move this interest. It wouldn't be granting a new easement because there already is one, even though there seems to be a dispute over that. So it's somewhat the town agreeing to move its current easement. The second issue is the area of the new easement. There is a masonry wall built on the property, and that is, I believe, the structure that the property owner is concerned with any damage to. Where if there's a new easement granted where there's a masonry wall that the town has no interest in, if that somehow got damaged during the ordinary use of an easement, they wanted the town to be responsible for maintaining or repairing that, which the town attorney's office just does not recommend agreeing to. So I think those few points of clarity help shed some light on the issues and disputes and kind of what the property owner's request is here.
Municipalities don't typically indemnify residents on easements, do they?
No.
Tom?
Where's the wall? That's not on this. Obviously, it's a sketch, not a survey. We know that for the easement. Is the wall actually in the easement? Is it next to it, just to the west? Or I don't have a regular boundary survey that as built to the property.
I think Ms. Ermes probably knows best how to describe
I
it.
mean, it'd be helpful if I had an as built of the entire property. I don't know why we don't have that.
So there is a masonry wall that was constructed from the garage to the side property line. Anthony Beltran was aware of that and counseled the builder not to build the masonry wall, but that was approved as part of zoning. Everyone was kind of aware. Of course, the town is aware of the existence of the water line, having relocated the water line when there was an abandonment. When Mr. Snavely owned the property previously, there was a water line that ran and bisected the middle of the property. So we reconnected that to its current connection on the 2900 main line that now runs south from the northeast side of the property straight down in its current location. So also there is a 12-foot side interior setback from minor accessory structures. So there will be no way that we would ever approve any structure being built, concrete pad, air conditioning, generator, anything in the area that is proposed for the easement. So there's no value loss for the property owner having this easement on their property because the easement is not buildable through our zoning code either.
If I just might respond, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of what titles from or what deeds from 1945 and 1975 state. But essentially, the claim that the town has this easement comes from a deed that didn't even involve the town. That's where their claim of an easement. So why we're here is because we, from our perspective, we're granting an easement that doesn't exist. There was a utility easement that ran east-west on the property. This is a water main that ran north-south, and I think that's where some of the confusion comes in. But I'll let Ms. Ermers address this masonry wall.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. I think the frustration for us is that, we lived in the community. We lived at 800 Canary Walk. We built that house years ago when Dan Stanton was going to build a home across both lots. And our question is, if there was an easement and a water main, why did ARPB and the commission review and only denied, according to the record, his home to be built on top of this water main if they knew about it? That wouldn't make any sense if the town knew about it. And then the gentleman that we bought the lot from came and had full ARPB approved drawings, commission approval to build his home and have permanent structures within 5 feet of this water main. It's never shown up on a survey. I mean, we had Delray Title do a title investigation. We had Stewart Title do a title investigation. My title insurance is with Old Republic. They can't find an easement, so I don't know where the confusion is. And we're okay with that. We've been willing for the last 12 months to grant an easement to the town, but the town approved a fence that goes along that line, hedges that go along that line. Our propane tank is below ground within feet of that of this water main. All these things were approved by the town, and if we knew about it, why were they approved to be so close to the water main? I mean, there's a lot of decently sized, structures there. Also, it's not even as much about us as it is my neighbor. I mean, if something happens with that, the water's going to flow downhill. His home was built in 1970 something. We're much higher than him. And we could be liable for that if the town doesn't take responsibility. So all we're asking for, this masonry wall is just a wall that is the gate that goes on both sides. It's like a wing wall on both sides of the house, but it goes right up a butt to the water main. But there's a fence there. There's major landscaping. We are 2 weeks out from finishing this house. And we've been trying to get this done with the town for 12 months. And it's been a lot of argument back and forth about whether there is or is not an easement. We've done our due diligence. 3 companies couldn't find it. Fine. We just want to have protection if something happens with this water main. Now, Mr. Nazaro has told us that the water main's in great shape. It's newer. They're thinking about relocating it at some point. That's great. But in the interim, I can't sell my home. I can't even, live in the home and feel good about it if something happens with this water main. And we are listing the home in the next week. So we can't even legally sell it. So there'll be delays selling our home because there's no easement, a proper easement in place. And we've had a water main going through, in our opinion, trespassing the property since we've owned it. And we don't want to get in the weeds on that either or go to court. We just want to, in good faith, negotiate an easement that protects the items that were approved to be placed next to the water main.
I don't know how there could be a difference between this. The title report either shows it or it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I have mine here. I have all 3. The only thing that shows up is an HOA easement we have for the Kalusia hedge. The HOA put in some Kalusia before we bought the
Our
property.
town attorney is telling us that the title search shows the old.
It shows, we were told it shows a deed, and a deed does not make an easement. I have all the title reports here from Delray and Stewart. I don't have the one from Old Republic because I didn't think it would come up, but they handled our title insurance. I had to go to them for a claim, and they said, there's no easement there.
So how about the site plan for?
Not on the
the
site plan, not
development
on any surveys. It's not on the Stanton survey from 2019. It's not from the DeCiccio survey of 2022. Not to invoke Chet, but Chet owned the lot, and I called him before we bought it and said, should I know anything? He didn't know about a water main. I mean, at least that's what he told me. He said there was an HOA easement. So it doesn't matter at this point. It's there. But we just want some protections if something happens to this water main. We built just a brand new home on it.
And that's the difference here is that if there was in fact an easement, then yes, I could understand the town's position. Well, we have easement rights and we don't do A and B and C. But if you're wrong, and we have pretty strong evidence, we believe that shows are wrong, then this water main, which we believe town didn't know about and did not have a proper easement, became and is a trespass, especially with the site plan approval and the construction that's been done since then, that it would be a trespass. So all we're asking for is we want to work out an agreement, but we just want the protections that the commission can go outside perhaps its normal routine, because now it's got to correct a problem that would not normally exist if there was, in fact, the more typical easement rights.
I mean, I'm sympathetic to your position, but as a commission, our town attorney is telling us, number one, the easement was there, it's documented. Number two, municipalities do not indemnify residents for easement related issues. So as a commission, I don't know how we can obviate those two statements. And while I'm sympathetic to what you're saying, obviously you wouldn't have put all this time and effort into it if you didn't believe it. And I must say, that's where I'm a little perplexed. Property rights are usually pretty well documented.
I agree with you about that, but in this case, we think the claim of the easement, there's never been a document produced that says, here's an easement to the town for water mains and utilities. The deeds do not, the easement documents do not say that. They're relying on, again.
And unfortunately, we don't have anything. We don't have any of your stuff. We don't have the title search that our attorney's talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how we can move on this, to be quite honest with you, except to accept what our staff and our attorneys are telling us. I don't know, your thoughts? Tom, this is your field.
Well, we don't know what's another comment if this case is heading to some sort of legal dispute, but I mean, I think we should bring it back. So we're arguing over some reservations and some 1935 deeds, which, but again, it can move past that. I think we're negotiating over an indemnification, whether there's none, which is standard to when we do have an easement, right? And we just put in a 48-inch pipe between two houses on Gulfstream Road, which we had a documented easement for. Whether we try to appease the homeowner or not, or whether we stick to our normal form easement agreement.
Yeah.
And if there's a case, either the judge is going to rule on it, or there's going to be mediation, right, Brett? That either works or it doesn't. Then there's a case.
But we don't have the documentation to make our own independent
We can't
judgment.
decide anything today, but we do have a lot more of the information from both our town attorneys and from the property owner and their attorneys.
So I think what the hope was that there would be a resolution as to this easement when it was put on the agenda, and as well as town manager said, to kind of tee it up and let the property owner speak and let the commission hear what the issue was. My recommendation, based on the fact that, I followed up with Miss Madison, who's the one handling the day-to-day negotiations on yesterday, saying, where are we? There wasn't a definitive easement agreement in place. So I was going to recommend to you today that we can't agree to anything. And if there was any direction the council wanted or any specific provisions added that you were comfortable with, we could draft that up, work that out. That doesn't seem like that's the solution. And it seems like you just want more background and an agenda item at the next commission meeting to give you everything that it is you're looking for to make a decision.
Right. Yeah. So if you're setting aside the easement issue, okay, it's more likely than not that the parties will agree to an easement, right? It'll be there. It's a water main. Whether there's one there or not, we'll move past that. But I mean, we need the as-built. I know that you all are building a house, you live there, but we need to know exactly what's in the whether we do anything or not. We need to know exactly what's in the easement, what's next to it, which would be the underground tank, the wing wall, and the landscaping, and chain link fence. And, so everyone can take a look at what's actually there. And it's probably most of it's on the site plan, but we don't remember all the site plans, that come through here, a year or two later. And then come back. I mean, there's options. There's really option A, B, or C, which, the attorneys can articulate that. They know what those are. We'll take a look at it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And hopefully in that, for some guidance, you all know what those are. You stick to the form. You say, okay, this is a unique situation. The town will replace sod and other stuff with a finite cost. inflation notwithstanding, you know, a cap at 25 or 50,000, whatever it is, which is not usually ever done.
Right.
Or there's a, you know, a C option, but,
Right, and that, as you, Vice Mayor, obviously know, that runs with the land
Yeah.
indemnification. So it's not just, you know, unique and stops
Well,
when this property owner sells, that runs with the land.
Yeah.
And that water line will get old.
well,
and maintenance will happen.
blanket indemnification is probably not gonna be optimal. No one's, you know, I don't think the commission can agree to that or advise it. You know, that's never done and that's too open-ended. And then, yeah, I mean, it's, hopefully the attorneys can get together and work this out. You know, I realize it's gone 10 or 11 months, but.
It's gone a long time.
I mean, I think that would
I'd
be
like to
something
see
that-
your.
I mean, I can show you drawings of our home and where the line is and the structures. And actually, I have copies for everyone if you want to see them. I think our frustration is it's been 12 months. We've asked for documentation of an easement. No one's ever produced an easement document to us.
I'm told that it's.
No, it's a
We've got a
deed.
title search for
There's
it.
a deed that they're saying they're using as an easement. There's no easement document. Like we have a landscaping easement with the HOA, fully documented in all the
Okay.
title searches.
Well,
There's no
as
easement
the
document.
Vice Mayor said, I'd like to
Yeah.
get your entire packet. Haven't seen it.
Absolutely.
Your
Absolutely.
packet, haven't seen it.
No, I apologize. We
so that
just
we
had
can-
2 days notice that we were being
We can
invited
take a
to
look
the
at
meeting.
this and study it in more detail and revisit
I
this
mean, you
next month.
came, it's good to hear from you. We've, you know, we got a little presentation of the facts on the record and we have time. We've got a little preliminary review from everybody before we see all the materials and we bring it back and, you know, hopefully we can come to a reasonable resolution without having some sort of case.
We appreciate it, but we're listing the home in a week and our house is not marketable because nobody's going to buy a home with a water main next to it and no easement in place. So, you know, we're trying to do this the right way with the town. We have been for 12 months, but we're kind of at the end of our rope here that we need a judgment. We will probably have to go for litigation on this because we can't do the back and forth anymore. We've tried for 12 months in good faith. I mean, Mayor Morgan, I've reached out to you.
Yep. No,
You
we've
know,
talked a couple times.
We've talked a couple times and I know, you know, everybody's doing their best, but, you know, the water mains here and all our structures are here. And if you look at the Stanton home that was approved, there's no way anybody knew there was an easement when they were going to approve this blue structure to go over this red water main. It just doesn't make any sense. So, you know, again, we're happy to give the town an easement. We just want the items that may be damaged to be protected based on the items that were approved by ARPB and commission to be installed. That's all we're asking for.
Because of the time-sensitive nature of this matter, as indicated by Ms. Ermers, that's why it was placed on the agenda with an agreement that was as far as the town attorney was willing to go, which is commercially reasonable and completely in conformance with best practices. We also gave some additional concessions regarding notice and restoration. So because of that, I felt like it was appropriate to not only have heard this, but also approved it, provided that the Ermers are imminently going to sell the property. So that would clear up any title issues and there would be a clear path forward to post the property for sale.
Well,
And
that's a
put
good,
this to bed regardless of whether or not there's an easement there or not. We're abandoning it if it exists. We're granting an easement and then any future owner will be provided with those restoration and notice requirements that the Ermers were advocating for.
and
So I-
that's true for marketing your house for sale. If that is your concern, us adopting this resolution for the easement would allow you to do that. But I prefer
As long as
to you.
it passes the sniff test with a lawyer who I'm sure, you know, somebody paying what they're going to pay for this home is going to have, you know, a legal team that's going to review documents and it would have to be. You know.
I think we're all in agreement. We'll defer to you on this.
Yeah.
If you want us to approve what is recommended by our attorneys so that you have an easement documented, allowing you to sell your home and avoid the concerns that you have, we will do that. If you would rather not do that, we will defer.
No, I'd like to do that,
Until
but I'm
next
going to
month.
wait, you know, on my counsel's advisement as to what is in it.
The issue of granting the easement has never really been disputed in terms of we're willing to give the town easement. The
Well, no,
issue is-
but you want us to adopt language that would have indemnification in there.
Well, I don't know that you could call it, it's not a complete indemnification. I mean,
It sounded like
I
it.
could read a short paragraph if the commission wants to hear us.
Well, we're not going to be adding language to it anyways, but
We're just
you
asking
can
that-
tell me if I'm wrong, but my opinion on this is we will give you the easement so that you can market your house today as proposed. or we will defer until next month so you can provide us with your information. We can get more information on it, as the vice mayor said, and then make a decision next month.
At this point, just to move this matter forward, so the property owner has not agreed to the conditions, but we would be making that initial offer by approving this resolution. So we would have sort of taken care of our responsibility in making sure the Irmers have marketable title. And if it's their choice not to adopt that, but to seek additional items, that would be their decision and their responsibility for any delays with.
So what you're saying is go ahead with this.
Go ahead and
Go ahead and
modify it if
then-
necessary.
Yeah,
Another
just real
agreement.
quick, so
Okay.
we can approve the resolution saying we've approved this easement as presented. And whether or not the property owner wants to agree to execute the easement and record it, that's up to them at this point.
Which I.
Exactly. And one point of clarification, just for everyone's purposes. This document is to put their concerns at ease, but the town's position is not that their property in its current condition is not marketable because they don't believe that there's currently an easement in place, because we do believe. This is just to, again, work in good faith to kind of appease their concerns. That's just to clear up the record.
That makes sense. Well, then let's read resolution 26-2.
A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a termination and replacement of easement agreement with Adrianus P.H. Ermers and Christina Sutton Ermers as trustees of the Ermers Family Revocable Trust dated September 18th, 2024, and providing for an effective date of today, April 10th, 2026.
All right, resolution 26-2 has been read. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second? Ms. Basil.
Second.
Commissioner Canfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Okay. Did we lose him? We lost him. Okay. Let's move on then to construction trailers. Mr. Nazaro?
Thank you, Mayor. So we have a request for a construction trailer at 3525 Polo Drive. There is a recitation of the Town Code 4227 regarding issuance of permits for a construction trailer, subparagraph D. That requires the Town Commission to approve any construction trailers. So this is being presented to you. There is a site plan indicating where the construction trailer will be. There on the page, it is going to be on the north west corner of the lot. It looks like approximately 10 feet from the property line. Is there anyone here to present? Oh, okay. And we have someone here to present on behalf of the Ellis resident.
Yeah, Jeremy Sloan with Sloan Construction, building the house.
Yes, Mr. Sloan. Hey, good to
Yeah,
see you.
good to see you too.
Mayor, I did look up the requests for construction trailers.
Yes.
Since 2016, there've been 8 requests.
Since 2000.
16.
In 10 years?
Mhm.
There've been
8.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry.
No. This is just a simple request. If it is, our intent is to make it a little bit more efficient to build the beginning stages of construction. There is a cabana on the property, or being proposed on the property, as you all know, in the rear of the property, which we will use for our office once it is constructed. But that will take at least 4 to 6 months. So we'd like to put a small construction trailer just as an office at the front of the property in the meantime, if we would be allowed to do so.
I don't really see the need for a construction trailer, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
We don't have many. That's why I asked Ms. Basil to look it up. Usually on larger properties, oceanfront, where they're, not obtrusive. This is right on Polo Drive. I don't see a need for it.
We're not going to make a big thing of this. It was one of those that if we could put it there, we would. If not, then we'll certainly.
That's just my
comply and
opinion. I'll defer to the other commission.
Work with it.
Yeah, the location's not optimal. It's right next to the adjacent homeowner.
We didn't have a good option anywhere on the
Yeah.
property, which is sort of why we placed it where we did
More like
on the site plan.
Then you're on a very visible corner.
But it's really
Next
not, like I
project.
said, it's not something that we need to, go
This
back and forth
project's
on.
going to be obtrusive enough.
I understand it's a hot topic for
So
the town. So
Yeah.
I'm not in
it's-
support of it. Rob?
I agree. I mean, if you've got a proposed solution just a few months down the road,
Yep.
I think we can move forward without the trailer.
Totally fine.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, well, thanks.
Do you
I
want
think
to make a
that's-
motion to reject the request, just for the record?
Yeah, is there a motion to reject? the
Motion to deny the request for a construction trailer at, what's the address?
Second,
Ms. Basil?
Commissioner Canfield,
3525.
Commissioner Orthwein.
Haven't
Yes.
finished the motion.
I'm sorry. Vice Mayor
That's
Stanley,
okay.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes, thank you. Okay, sorry. And I'm putting the wrong piece of paper up there. There was another issue to be decided. I'm sorry. Where did my papers go? Yeah, the agenda. I'm sorry, I gotta get underneath all these papers.
I'm sorry.
This is next was discussing amending the code because we had some so infrequent use of these construction trailers as to whether they should actually come up to the town commission or be decided by staff or the ARPB. Maybe we kind of broached this subject a little while back. I think today's probably a perfect example of why the founding fathers required the commission to do it. Because really you have to countenance whether they're necessary and whether they're visually obtrusive, particularly in the core or Plaza Soleil or on County Road, small, narrower areas. Any thoughts on it? Not really.
Really, just from staff's perspective, it is, the applicant will ask for it and we'll tell them they have to go to the commission and, hem and haw, why can't we just get this approved at the staff level? I guess, given that Renee has indicated that we've had less than one a year for the last 10 years, it's probably appropriate to continue, in addition to what we just saw, we probably continue to have it sent directly to the town commission. The issue, of course, is that with staff approval, there is absolutely zero notice. At least with going to the town commission, there is notice through the agenda. Not that that's something. It's not direct notice to all the adjoining property owners, but it's probably something that staff would have said, it's only 4 months. Can you put it somewhere else? Okay, great. And we would have really just approved that. So having some additional oversight with 5 smart minds instead of one, half okay town manager making those decisions is probably beneficial. Again, just given the fact that it is not something that we commonly see, it wouldn't really help anything to continue to have it reviewed by the commission.
Typically reserved for major projects and major builds.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all major builds, but scope and size, and also something that might be 28 to 30 months. Some of the larger properties
Right.
that we're dealing with.
And when looking at them through the years, they were all mostly on the beach.
Mostly on
Yeah.
the ocean. And we have ocean ones that don't have,
Yes.
Depending on the
huge,
size of
huge
the lot,
property
scope of the
Just leave it
projects.
the way
So,
it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
we don't need a motion on this. We're just and it was just up for discussion. Let's move on then to the demolition permit at 4220 North County Road. It's a code enforcement issue. Mr. Nazaro.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So there have been complaints about the property on County Road being overgrown and the structure fairly dilapidated. It has been vacant for several years after it was purchased, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. There has been significant progress made clearing out a lot of the underbrush, not any of the trees, but remedying some of the issues within the nuisance, the code enforcement violation. However, they would still need to bring down the house. The property owner has indicated that he is ready and sort of on the 5-yard line with an application that he believes will be submitted to the ARPB during the May meeting. There just was not enough time for them to get on the April meeting. So that would remedy all of the code enforcement issues. So we just wanted to bring this up for discussion because it was kind of a hot topic issue in addition to feral cats on County Road. This was something that was vocally complained about, and we agreed from the town's perspective that there was a nuisance that existed there. Again, that is being remedied somewhat, given the some of the underbrush that's been removed, and we do have someone here. Hiding in the back, just to provide some sort of an update as far as where they are and what their plans are for the property. And I believe we also received like a preliminary site plan for the property showing that they are kind of getting there. And that was provided at the on the dais this morning.
Hi, good morning. Valeria Drake, one of the landscape architects working with this property. And like Jade mentioned, like there was a major clear up of the site earlier this week. None of the major trees were removed. Everything was low just to clear up the space and help out with any, like I said, feral cats or anything that is living in that area. And yeah, we're working on finalizing the site plan now that we have a better visibility of the trees and we're trying to preserve as much as we can. I know there's a lot of history on this property, but we're getting rid of all the things that are not beneficial for the street. And we're aiming to do the best for this property.
This is in code enforcement. So the process now is to go to the ARPB with your plans, both architectural and landscaping, correct?
Correct. And we're going in May.
In May.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So depending on what other items we have through code enforcement, I have been driving through Place South Soleil with the president of the Homeowners Association and some other individuals with our Public Works Director, looking at some potential nuisance issues, and those that haven't been remedied will be cited. So we can always throw that on there at a future meeting in the event they do not make the May submittal meeting. Renee and I have reached out to the architect, I guess, for a pre-application meeting just to address some of the issues that we see with the site plan. You know, if you're looking at it, we do have a 2.5 car garage facing the street, you know, some minor concessions that we would like, adjust that to where the, you know, if the Public Works building looks at a 3-car garage, I don't think that we're going to be very upset since this property borders the town hall property. You know, some sort of things like that, but it is an extremely large property, is just over half an acre. So there will be potentially a very large house if this is approved on County Road. I think it's the FAR permits up to maybe 7,000. It's almost as large as 3,400 Polo, the construction that Mr. Coulter is undertaking. So imagine that house on County Road. That's kind of what we're potentially looking at to replace.
That would really stand out on County Road.
There have been a lot of, not a lot, but there have been a handful of redevelopment. We have the Endress house on a smaller lot on the east side of the house of County Road, and then some redevelopment a little bit further north with a very large impervious paver driveway and redevelopment there. So it has changed the sort of the character of County Road a little bit. With less of the tree canopy, and this will of course, you know, continue to impact that road as there is redevelopment with, you know, current, you know, property values. I believe this is a very, very old home. It is, you know, probably the size of a postage stamp compared to what we're gonna be seeing on there. So, you know, it is, I believe, the largest lot on County Road, you know, at half an acre. So it's that's kind of what's there. This is part of the North-South District. Certainly County Road is unique. The South District includes, you know, Driftwood Landing and Pelican Lane, and you do have a lot of largest, not estate, but, you know, very large properties in Driftwood Landing as well. So I've never been a huge fan of the North-South District because those are really two distinct, sort of separate areas. But that's, you know, that's the zoning district that they're in.
Okay. But for our purposes, we're being updated on what you're planning to do with the landscaping, and have already done, frankly, removed all of that undergrowth, correct?
Correct. Yeah, all the trees will require permit, which we're going to go through the process.
Okay, great. Look forward to seeing your plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then let's move on to the underground electrical feeder installation for our stormwater pumps. Chief, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So as you all are probably somewhat aware, the current electrical service for our underground pumps at Polo and Old School are fed directly from the electrical panel behind Town Hall due to the generator being located there. Underground is approximately 8 large-scale number 3 electrical wires that run in a single conduit, as well as a low-voltage set of wires that also run in a separate conduit. During the construction along Gulfstream Road and some drainage insulation, roadway dug up a conduit that contained part of the electrical that is required for those pumps to operate and damaged that service line. Also, although there's some dispute about whether or not they did the damage, the town does have photographs of the damage and the equipment that did the damage. However, nobody knew at that time that it was a service line for the pumps. So there was some thought that maybe the electrical line that was there may not be in use. And so I think that's maybe why it wasn't addressed early on. That's when Anthony Beltran was still our public works director. Obviously, when he left, I kind of acquired this project because I didn't want to see those pumps continue to be lacking the power needs that they need to operate. And obviously, the commission had also purchased new pumps that needed to be installed there. So without proper electrical, the new installation of pumps is kind of useless. So currently, we have enough electric to run one pump at that location, and one pump is running. But it's not an efficient operation. And with the storm season approaching, I would like to obviously see us get that repaired and get those pumps installed so that we're 100% prepared for summer months.
All right. Well, we've got 2 bids. You're recommending American Lightings.
Yes, sir. And the main difference between the two is one was going to do underground boring, and the American Lighting Company said they're going to do manual digging instead. So that's the cost difference that you see.
Interesting.
Comments, questions? Motion to approve.
I move to approve American Lighting.
Second.
$72,576. Is there a second? Ms.
Second.
Basil?
Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
So is roadway going to be held accountable?
So yes, I was going to say we had provided roadway
what
with an opportunity to perform the work themselves. If they don't perform the work within 30 days, we will pull the trigger on that because we are coming up on the rating season. So we did give them a drop dead deadline in our Wednesday monthly meeting. So, if they either say we refuse, it's not our responsibility, whatever it is, we'll go ahead and move forward and we'll settle this at project closeout, determining who's responsible. But it is our,
We've also estimated that the damaged area could be up to 825 feet, but it could also be as short as 40 feet. And if we find that it is as short as 40 feet, then the cost that were proposed would be drastically reduced. So
All
this
right.
is a worst case
So
scenario.
that's a max.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good. All right, let's move on to reappointment and appointment of ARPP members. Ms. Basil, do you want to identify these members?
3 of the ARPB members are up for a new 3-year term. They have all agreed to it. Paul Lyons, Catherine Orthwein, and Tom Smith. 1 alternate is up for a new 3-year term, Terry Power, and again, she has agreed to another 3-year term.
Any discussion or motion to approve their reappointment?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Ms. Basil?
Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. We have an alternate member?
That would be Ross Curtis. His application was given to you, and that is our suggestion.
Is there a discussion or a motion?
I'll move to approve Ross Curtis as the new alternate to the ARPB.
Second.
Renee?
Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Very good. ARPB meeting attendance. Renee, could you give us a summary of, well, first of all, Mr. Nazar, tell us what the code currently provides, and then we'll go through some of the details.
Sure. All right. Thank you, Mayor. So what Commissioner Orthwein had mentioned earlier about consistency of the board and regular attendance is kind of reflected in Renee's memo that shows that we have a number of meetings. Of 19 meetings, only 5 had all regular members present. So that shows it over a 2-year period. As you know, there was a very different demographic. Makeup of those seats. So it would be an alternate here, less than a full board here. So some issues. Currently, we allow ARPB members to miss up to 4 meetings within a 12-month period. So again, without a meeting in August, you're looking at allowing up to 4 out of 11 meetings a year. So we were hoping to reduce that as proposed in the red line from 4 or more meetings with or without an excused absence to 3, and then eliminate the excused absence language, because the excused absence language includes absence from Palm Beach County. So a lot of our ARPB members previously would fly home. I think Paul Lyons at some point did it, as well as Curtis Roach and some others. So they showed their commitment to the ARPB, and that if they were going to be out of town or had vacation schedule or something, they would fly back into Palm Beach County. So we're just hoping that we can sort of reinforce the fact that, our ARPB members take their responsibility for attendance seriously and commit to attending, the vast majority of meetings every year. So this would still allow flexibility with missing multiple meetings. For example, if you're not here over the summer and then we don't have an August meeting, and that is why we increased the alternates from 2 to 3 within the past few years. But we're just looking to, or proposing maybe, to tighten up the attendance requirements, especially given the fact that, you can have excused absences that can really allow you to miss a significant number of meetings.
Right. And they only have 11 meetings to begin with. But if you're going to make a commitment to the ARPB, it seems to me you should make the meetings. Even 3 is actually even generous. So I'd be in favor of this change.
I agree.
Yep.
Because people, it's gotten so lax. A lot of times you can't get enough people, even with the alternates. So that's not a good look for us.
And you made a
for
good
the
point.
town.
You made a good point today. We're getting a different group reviewing applications. So you're kind of getting a different view. It's not a consistent group.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair to the applicant, really.
So anyways, I think we want to do this. If you would please
I'll make a
draft a
motion.
change to
Okay.
the.
Draft
All
a
right.
change.
Fabulous.
We need to change.
We'll do.
Okay. Very good. Any comments? Well, then, thank you all for coming. It was a long meeting. Yes. Mr. Snavely? You come on up. You come on up. Before we close out the meeting.
Entertained here for the last 3 hours. I have a question, and it goes to the ARPB and it goes to the board. When we just witnessed what the Ermers were doing, or the problems that they're having, my question is, when there's a site plan approved or a landscape plan approved, who is responsible for the accuracy of the survey that's submitted to the ARPB and ultimately to you folks? And the reason why I'm asking this question is Mrs. Ermers was talking about the only easement she was aware of was the landscaping easement that the Plaza Soleil HOA has on her property. And I found that interesting because it was never shown on any plans for a landscape plan approval or for an ARPB approval. So what has occurred is we have a problem now with the Ermers because they have ignored the landscape maintenance agreement that we have on the property. So I think that maybe if that easement had been shown on the survey when the landscape plan was approved, it could have been noted that they were denying our access for our easement to maintain our hedge that we put in along with the Civic Association, however many years ago it was. So it's a question.
Right. Trey, what?
No, sure. I
How do
mean,
they normally handle it?
No, it's interesting that the property owner mentioned that that was one of the easements that did show up on the property, but I don't believe it was on any of the surveys that were submitted
No.
by her. So, you know, the property owner is responsible to provide an accurate survey. Certainly, the town has our own records for our own water line surveys, everything like that. We have our as-builts that we're working to update. Certainly, with the core project, we'll have all new water lines. We'll have all updated as-built, so we'll know exactly, our infrastructure and where it is.